For years, Birmingham has sat in the shadow of London's property market like a younger sibling overlooked at the dinner table. Everyone acknowledges it's growing. Everyone knows it's full of culture, industry and infrastructure. And yet, when the conversation turns to housing, the UK's second largest city is still left out of the headlines. That might be the biggest mistake property buyers are making in 2025. Because hidden just below the surface of Birmingham's skyline and beyond the regeneration banners, there are entire neighbourhoods, actual livable zones, where homes are still selling for prices so low you'd assume it was a scam. In some postcodes, you'll find listings for £100,000. In others, less than £90,000. These aren't fantasy figures or auctions of derelict shells. These are family-sized homes in functioning, connected communities. And while everyone else is chasing the next overpriced corner of London, Birmingham is quietly sitting on one of the best value housing markets in the country. What makes this even more shocking is that these bargains aren't found in distant satellite villages or underpopulated rural outposts. They're right inside the Birmingham Ring Road, a short bus ride from the city centre, on train lines that hit Grand Central Station in 10 minutes or less. The kind of areas that in any other UK city would be well on their way to gentrification, or at least price correction. But in Birmingham, many remain frozen in time. And those who understand what's coming, those who see beyond outdated reputations and underreported growth, are starting to buy up early, quietly, strategically. Because what we're about to walk through isn't just a list of cheap neighbourhoods. It's a map of missed opportunity, one that sooner or later will become unaffordable to ignore. 1. Kingstanding. Tucked into the northern edge of Birmingham, Kingstanding is a neighbourhood that few non-locals could point to on a map. And yet, for buyers who know what to look for, it's become one of the most absurdly underpriced corners of any major UK city. Originally built during the 1930s as a council housing estate, Kingstanding sprawls across hills and housing grids with a kind of quiet humility. There are no skyscrapers, no flashy town centres, and no regeneration banners flapping in the wind. But what it does have is space, transport, and homes, real homes, for sale at prices that seem like they're from another decade. As of 2025, the average home in Kingstanding sells between £125,000 and £145,000. Not for a tiny studio flat. Not for a derelict hovel in a floodplain. For actual 2- and 3-bedroom houses with driveways, back gardens, and in many cases recently updated interiors. On certain streets, particularly those deeper into the estates, you can still find 3-bed terraces listed for £110,000. In an age where London buyers can barely get a broom cupboard for that, Kingstanding feels like a cheat code. The area's low prices are a direct result of its lingering reputation. Kingstanding has struggled with crime statistics and a lack of investment for years. Some of the local shops look tired. There are pockets that feel rough. But this is changing. Slowly, steadily. The council has been injecting infrastructure upgrades. Schools are stabilising. Bus routes are being improved. And first-time buyers, particularly young families, are beginning to filter in. They're drawn by what's obvious to anyone who spends an afternoon walking the area. The homes are solid, the roads are wide, and the community is still very much alive. Kingstanding isn't glamorous, but it offers what no flat-pack suburb can: raw, unpolished value. For buyers willing to paint a few walls and take a longer-term view, this may be the last truly affordable family neighbourhood inside the Birmingham boundary. 2. Shard End. Cross over to the eastern edge of Birmingham and you'll find Shard End, a name that rarely makes national headlines, and yet contains some of the most stable, spacious and budget-friendly housing in the entire West Midlands. Originally built after World War II to house families displaced by bombing and inner-city clearance, Shard End was designed with purpose. Green belts, broad streets, semi-detached homes with long gardens. It was never meant to be glamorous, it was meant to be livable. And in 2025, that intention is finally starting to pay off for those looking to buy in a post-pandemic economy. Prices here are almost surreal. A decent 3-bed semi-detached house can be found for £120,000 to £135,000. 2-bed terraced homes, often with ample outdoor space, are available for under £115,000. Flats? Some are listed under £80,000, less than the deposit required for a 1-bed flat in Manchester or London. And yet Shard doesn't feel like a forgotten zone. The schools are functional, the buses run, the shops are there. It's not posh, but it works. One of the key benefits of Shard is its strategic positioning. The neighbourhood sits close to major arterial roads, perfect for commuters heading towards Solihull, the airport, or even central Birmingham. You're also near nature. The River Cole flows nearby, bordered by small parklands and footpaths that many residents use daily. It's a pocket of peace that somehow hasn't caught the attention of investors yet. Shard housing stock is relatively uniform. Lots of red brick homes, often ex-council, but with generous square footage compared to what newer developments offer. The area has also seen quiet improvement projects over the past 5 years, including updates to leisure centres and small business grants that have brought in new local amenities. If the national conversation ever shifts toward realistic affordability, Shard will be on the short list of places that simply never should have been overlooked. 3. Weoley Castle. If there's one Birmingham neighbourhood that sounds like it should be expensive, it's Weoley Castle. The name alone evokes medieval grandeur, and in fairness, it does contain the ruins of a genuine 13th century manor house. But today's Weoley Castle isn't a land of lords and knights. It's a sprawling southwest suburb filled with 1930s semis, post-war terraces, and wide residential streets that offer incredible value for money. Weoley Castle sits close to Selly Oak and Northfield, two areas that have seen significant price increases in recent years. Selly Oak in particular has been transformed by its proximity to the University of Birmingham and Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And yet, Weoley Castle has somehow avoided the spillover effect. While Selly Oak's homes now frequently top £250,000, Weoley Castle properties can still be bought for under £140,000. On many streets, you'll find 3-bedroom houses with off-road parking and conservatories for £125,000 or less. Flats, meanwhile, can list for as little as £70,000. The reason for the gap? Image. Weoley Castle has long been viewed as just another estate, a label that sticks stubbornly in public perception despite the changing reality on the ground. But the smart buyers are starting to move in. The area is clean, transport links are good, and the sense of community remains strong. Schools are improving, parks are maintained, and there's an underlying steadiness to the area that gives it resilience against market shocks. Weoley Castle also benefits from its proximity to green space. Woodgate Valley Country Park is nearby, offering miles of walking and cycling trails. For young families priced out of Harborne or Bourneville, this suburb offers a lifestyle that's not only affordable, but sustainable. The houses may not have marble countertops or bifold doors, but they have room. Real, actual room for kids, for dogs, for life. And in today's housing market, that might be the rarest commodity of all. 4. Bartley Green. Perched on the southwestern edge of Birmingham, Bartley Green is a place most people drive past without thinking twice. But the locals know better. This is one of those rare neighbourhoods where the value is so deeply buried in plain sight, it feels like a glitch in the system. It doesn't shout. It doesn't sparkle. But Bartley Green offers one of the best pound-for-pound property deals in the West Midlands. Originally developed during the post-war boom, Bartley Green is made up largely of semi-detached homes, bungalows and 1950s council housing. On the surface, it looks unremarkable. Quiet roads, modest front gardens, low-rise housing stock. But it's precisely that calm functionality that makes it so appealing for buyers on a budget. You can still pick up a 3-bedroom house here for between £115,000 and £135,000. Flats often sell for under £85,000, and 2-bedroom homes routinely list for under £110,000. These aren't fire sale properties or structurally questionable shells. They're real, lived-in homes with central heating, off-road parking, and working kitchens. The area's geography adds another layer of appeal. Bartley Green backs onto Woodgate Valley Country Park and is just minutes from the Bartley Reservoir. That means residents get access to vast green space, woodland, streams, walking trails, all while being only 20 minutes from Birmingham city centre. It's a rare combination, the peace of suburbia with inner-city convenience. For families who want space without sacrifice, this is gold dust. Like many areas on this list, Bartley Green has its struggles. The local shopping precinct is functional rather than fashionable. Bus routes are decent, but not elite. Some of the postcodes have pockets of deprivation. But if you walk the streets on a Sunday afternoon, you'll see kids playing football, neighbours tending to gardens, and parents chatting over low brick fences. It's not flashy, but it works, and it's working better than many of its more expensive neighbours. As prices rise across Birmingham, Bartley Green is slowly drawing attention. Investors see it as a rental opportunity. First-time buyers are catching on, and every year fewer homes stay on the market for long. The window is still open, but not for much longer. 5. Chelmsley Wood. Chelmsley Wood is perhaps the most misunderstood part of Birmingham's outer ring. Technically part of the Solihull borough, it's often dismissed by outsiders as nothing more than a massive tired council estate. But spend a few days on the ground, and that perception starts to crack. Behind the concrete and the post-war layout, there's a solid foundation of livability and an absolutely unbeatable price point. Built in the 1960s as a flagship new town to absorb overspill from Birmingham's inner city, Chelmsley Wood was designed to offer fresh air, community parks, and modern housing. The vision faltered during the 1980s and 1990s, when economic decline and lack of maintenance led to its fall from grace. But in the 2000s and beyond, slow but steady investment has started to reverse the tide. Today you'll find wide roads, decent schools, a large shopping centre, and an impressive amount of green space. What you won't find, at least not yet, are sky-high house prices. In 2025, a 2-bedroom flat in Chelmsley Wood can still be had for under £80,000. 3-bedroom houses, often with driveways and generous gardens, sell for £95,000 to £115,000. Some of the ex-local authority homes, built to high standards with concrete frames and large interiors, are being snapped up for less than the cost of a studio flat in nearby Solihull. For buyers who want space and are willing to overlook outdated stereotypes, this is a no-brainer. Transport-wise, Chelmsley Wood punches above its weight. It sits right next to the NEC, Birmingham Airport, and the upcoming HS2 interchange. That means future travel times to London and Manchester could be slashed dramatically. Even now, the area is just a short drive from the M42 and has multiple bus links to central Birmingham. Add in proximity to the commercial centres of Solihull and Marston Green, and you're looking at an incredibly well-positioned town, one that the market still undervalues. The local government has also rolled out regeneration schemes aimed at improving both image and infrastructure. Public spaces have been updated. The main shopping precinct has had a facelift. Community policing has improved safety stats. Slowly but surely, Chelmsley Wood is changing. But the prices haven't caught up yet. For those who can see past stigma and look at fundamentals, location, size, infrastructure, this town is a gift. 6. Stockland Green. If you want to live close to the city centre without the price tag, Stockland Green should be on your radar. Sitting just north of Aston and a stone's throw from Perry Bar, this district forms part of the larger Erdington area. It's the kind of place that rarely shows up on flashy estate brochures, yet quietly holds some of the best value housing within 15 minutes of Birmingham city centre. In 2025, the average two-bedroom home in Stockland Green sells for around £110,000. One-bedroom flats go for as little as £65,000 houses, some with large gardens and off-street parking can still be found between £120,000 and £135,000. For a location that's just 4 miles from New Street Station, that's practically unheard of. The housing stock is mostly Victorian and Edwardian terraces, interspersed with 20th century semis and low-rise blocks. Many of the properties here are spacious and well-built, offering much more character and room than newer developments. And because Stockland Green hasn't seen the full force of regeneration yet, prices remain unusually low, but change is coming. The area sits near major transport corridors, including the M6 and the A34. It has direct train links through Gravelly Hill Station and bus routes that run frequently into town. Local schools are on the up, and community programs are actively working to clean up streets, restore parks, and engage local youth. It's not perfect, but it's moving in the right direction. One of Stockland Green's lesser-known strengths is its potential for rental yield. Investors have been quietly buying up homes here for years, converting large properties into HMOS houses in multiple occupation and student housing. That trend is accelerating, especially with the rise in demand for affordable housing near Aston University and Birmingham City University. For buyers looking for income as well as equity growth, Stockland Green offers both. More than anything though, this is a place where ordinary people can still afford to buy and live within the city. There's no executive development branding here, no artificially inflated prices, just homes, streets and communities holding out against the tide of gentrification. For now, 7. Nechells. Nechells sits just east of Birmingham city centre, close enough to smell the development dust from the big city plan, but far enough to still be priced like it's 2009. For decades, this inner city district has carried the burden of negative press. Crime, poverty, abandonment. Anyone scanning headlines might assume Nechells is a no-go zone. But walk the streets, and the truth is more complex and far more valuable. In 2025, homes here still routinely sell for under £100,000. That includes 2- and 3-bedroom terraced houses with modern kitchens, gas heating and actual gardens. You'll even find flats for under £70,000. These aren't derelict shells or auction fire sales. They're functioning homes in one of the most centrally located neighbourhoods in the UK's second city. From most parts of Nechells, you can reach Birmingham New Street in less than 10 minutes. Aston University, the Jewellery Quarter and Digbeth are all within walking distance. So why are prices still so low? The answer lies in legacy. Nechells was hit hard by post-industrial decline and years of underinvestment. But that's also what makes it one of the most undervalued places in Britain today. Developers are creeping in, artists and students are renting, green shoots are starting to appear in the form of community gardens, new local initiatives and small businesses. This is what gentrification looks like before it hits Rightmove. The smart money knows the clock is ticking. With transport upgrades looming and regeneration continuing to ripple outward, Nechells won't stay hidden for long. But for now, it's still possible to own a centrally located home in a major British city for less than 6 figures. That fact alone makes it almost unbelievable. Few places in Birmingham are as storied or as complicated as Handsworth. Once the heart of West Indian culture in the UK, Handsworth has birthed reggae legends, political protests, and waves of immigration that helped shape Birmingham's identity. But it has also endured decades of decline, media stereotyping, and economic hardship. What hasn't changed, though, is its housing stock. Big, beautiful, often overlooked homes that can still be bought at staggeringly low prices. In 2025, 3-bedroom Victorian terraces in Handsworth list for £120,000 to £140,000. And that's not just because they need work. Many have been modernised. Double glazing, new bathrooms, loft conversions. Flats sell for as little as £75,000. And because many homes here were built during Birmingham's industrial boom, the sizes are generous. High ceilings, bay windows, tiled hallways. These are homes with character and land. Some even include side gardens large enough for extensions or outbuildings. Handsworth's location adds to its value. It's just 15 minutes from the city centre by road or bus. Soho Road, its central artery, is alive with commerce, culture and community. Mosques, gurdwaras, churches and community halls dot the landscape. For buyers willing to look past outdated headlines, this is one of the richest cultural areas in the UK and still affordable. What makes Handsworth especially ripe for investment is its mix of owner-occupiers and large family homes. Many properties have been kept in the same families for generations. Others are being quietly bought by first-time buyers, landlords, and creative types who see what Handsworth really is: a cultural powerhouse with Victorian bones and 21st century potential. The only thing holding it back now is perception, and that's beginning to shift. 9. Crosstile Cross is what some might call a transitional suburb. Not flashy, not rundown, just somewhere between forgotten and discovered. It sits east of Birmingham city centre, near the city's outer ring, in a triangle of affordability bordered by Garrett's Green, Marston Green and the airport. But what makes Tilecross special isn't just its location, it's the price-to-lifestyle ratio, which borders on absurd. In 2025, a solid 3-bedroom semi-detached house in Tilecross sells for around £110,000 to £130,000. 2-bedroom homes can list for under £100,000. Flats frequently go for £70,000 or less. For that, you get not just a house, but space. Gardens, driveways, outbuildings, even conservatories in some cases. And yet, Tilecross isn't in the middle of nowhere. It's close to major transport links, including Birmingham International Airport, the NEC, and the planned HS2 interchange. Tilecross has no real centre in the way Harborne or Kings Heath might. But it offers everything a working household might need: schools, supermarkets, medical centres, and reliable bus routes. There's also something quietly comforting about its streets. They're not chaotic. There's room to breathe. And the houses, mostly mid-century builds, have been upgraded over the years by families who simply stayed put. It's this stability that gives Tilecross a unique appeal. There's no gold rush here, just consistent, livable value. That means low volatility, strong rental demand, and plenty of room for owner-occupiers to grow into their properties. And for buyers who want a place to settle, not flip or flee, Tilecross may be one of Birmingham's most underrated choices. 10. Washwood Heath. Few places in Birmingham hold more unrealised potential than Washwood Heath. Nestled between Nechells, Bartley Green and Hodge Hill, this neighbourhood was once at the beating heart of Birmingham's rail and manufacturing industries. When those industries declined, Washwood Heath suffered. Factories shut down, shops closed, and for a while it felt like the area had been abandoned altogether. But that's precisely why it's now a goldmine for those paying attention. Property prices in Washwood Heath are still astonishingly low. 3-bedroom terraced homes list between £100,000 and £125,000. Flats go for £65,000 to £75,000. Even semis with decent plots rarely push past £140,000. For a neighbourhood this close to major infrastructure, that's wild. But here's the kicker. Washwood Heath is ground zero for HS2. The new high-speed rail depot is being built directly on the edge of the area. Billions are being invested in transport, logistics, and connectivity. Roads are being widened. Access points are being rebuilt. The economic impact on Washwood Heath is expected to be enormous. And yet, prices have barely moved. That means the window is still wide open. For first-time buyers, it's a way into Birmingham's growth corridor, without the usual premium. For investors, it's a rare chance to buy in an undervalued area before the regeneration dust even settles. And for renters, it's already drawing demand from workers linked to HS2 and the logistics sector. Washwood Heath isn't gentrified. It's still rough around the edges, but the basics, location, transport, and value are all in place. And that makes it one of the most strategically positioned housing markets in the country, hiding in plain sight. What if everything we've been told about the UK housing market is only part of the story? What if, while mainstream media floods us with headlines about unaffordability, landlord greed and mortgage rate despair, entire neighbourhoods in Britain's second largest city are still wide open, waiting? What if the real scam isn't the low prices in these Birmingham towns, but the fact that nobody's talking about them? 10 towns, 10 places that, on paper, defy logic. Places where houses sell for £90,000, flats go for £65,000, semis with driveways, gardens, conservatories, homes, not just units, still list for under £130,000. And we're not talking about distant villages in the Scottish Highlands or post-industrial hamlets in South Wales. We're talking about Birmingham, a booming, connected, culture-rich metropolis with an international airport, global universities, a manufacturing backbone, and HS2 on the way. In cities like London, this is impossible. In Manchester, it's vanishing. In Bristol or Leeds, it's already gone. But Birmingham, somehow, still offers what the others lost years ago: the ability for ordinary people to buy a piece of the city without needing to inherit money, win a lottery, or sell a kidney. And that's not just valuable, it's revolutionary. Because the housing crisis in Britain isn't just about numbers. It's about hope. It's about dignity. It's about whether or not the next generation will ever get to say the words, "This is mine." In most places, that dream is slipping away. But in Bartley Green, it's alive. In Shard End, it's waiting. In Washwood Heath, it's staring you in the face, priced below £100,000. It's easy to look at these towns and think, well, they must be rough. That's the first instinct. And yes, some of them have struggled. Many were hit hard by the decline of industry, austerity cuts, and years of planning neglect. But that's not the whole story, because behind the headlines and reputation are real communities, real people, kids walking to school, neighbours mowing lawns, shopkeepers opening shutters before sunrise, streets that may not be polished but are lived in, and that matters. These places aren't ghost towns. They're not derelict zones. They're just overlooked. And if you've been watching the UK market long enough, you know that overlooked becomes overvalued in the blink of an eye. Look at what happened in Digbeth, or the Jewellery Quarter. Look at Bearwood. These were once undesirable too. Now they're filled with cafes, co-working spaces, and £300,000 lofts. That's the pattern. And if you can spot it before the rest of the market catches up, you don't just get a good deal, you get in ahead of the curve. But this is about more than just profit. This is about freedom. In a country where so many are trapped by rent, crushed by costs, and boxed into overpriced shoeboxes with shared stairwells and cladding nightmares, Birmingham's hidden towns offer an escape hatch. A way to step outside the madness and build something real, something grounded, something yours. Take Kingstanding. It's not glamorous, but for £110,000, you get a 3-bedroom home with a garden. In Chelmsley Wood, you're minutes from an international airport and can still buy a house for what most people pay in stamp duty elsewhere. In Handsworth, you're surrounded by history, community, and culture. And you can own a full Victorian terrace for less than a new hatchback. These towns aren't cheap because they're worthless. They're affordable because they've been ignored. And that won't last. Infrastructure doesn't stay silent. Regeneration doesn't go unnoticed. As HS2 arrives, as commercial districts spread, and as Birmingham continues its climb onto the global stage, the pressure on housing will rise. When it does, these areas will be the first to explode in value, and then the stories will flip. Suddenly, Nechells will be up and coming, Washwood Heath will be connected, Shard End will be great for families. The same agents who ignored these postcodes will start printing glossy brochures, running features in lifestyle magazines, calling them hidden gems. But by then, the prices will have moved. The value will be diluted. The window will be closed. That's what makes this moment so important. It's rare to catch a city mid-transition, just before the curve. Birmingham isn't speculative. It isn't wishful thinking. It's already growing, already evolving, already being shaped by transport links, business investment, and demographic shifts. And in the middle of that momentum, these 10 towns remain affordable, not because they're broken, but because they're early. For renters exhausted by rising costs, this list should be a roadmap to ownership. For first-time buyers terrified by the numbers in London or Bristol, this is your lifeline. For young families stuck in shoebox flats, this is space, safety, and opportunity. For the savvy investor, it's the kind of long-term value you simply don't find anymore. This isn't about flipping, it's about planting, about choosing to believe that you can live, not just exist, in the place you call home. It's about waking up in a house you own, knowing your payments are building equity, not lining someone else's pockets, knowing your children will have a garden, knowing you have space, control, dignity. The real scam isn't the price tags in these towns, it's the fact that more people aren't talking about them. The real con is how many buyers have been pushed into overpriced new builds, while streets in Bartley Green sit quietly, patiently, full of homes priced like it's still the 2000s. The real danger isn't the neighbourhoods themselves, it's waiting too long to look. So the question now is simple. Are you willing to act before the rest of the market wakes up? Because one thing is certain, these prices won't last. The opportunity is real, but so is the clock.